This is Anastasia Perez with my project for liberal studies. I've titled it Eating Our Future, America's Dietary Crisis. In this project, I've examined where America is as a country with the diet and where we're going. We are what we eat, right? Well, that's a pretty scary thought. With fast food on the rise and obesity a national epidemic, we really do have a problem here in the United States. We'd be foolish not to acknowledge it. Some of the studies I've read for this project highlight some of the issues with the American diet. My first article falls in the natural science category and is titled American Diet Quality, where it is heading, and what it could be. Various surveys were used to collect data about people's intake and nutritional components. They used basic scientific methods of measurement and survey statistics. All the authors are dietary and public health professionals. The central question of this article is, how does the American diet measure up? They answer that by showing results of various surveys, and the answers are grim. But including more than one survey year helped them to show trends in improvement. Using natural sciences is a great way to measure where the United States of America is at this moment. I call this measuring our malnutrition, because malnutrition as defined can mean both not enough nutrition and too much. Both forms of malnutrition are serious and can cause death. How do we measure up? Well, in this survey, we find nowhere near where we should be for diet. We are deficient in many areas of healthful intake and overly taking in many things that we shouldn't, such as saturated fat and sodium. Speaking of sodium, my next article talks just about that. Eating salt. In this article, although it's somewhat humorous, the authors examine sandwiches. Sandwiches are major contributors of sodium in the diets of American adults. The article goes on with the title Results from What We Eat in America, National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. Also published in a scientific article, or journal I should say. This article talks about the sobering amount of salt in our food, especially in the sandwich. How much sodium is in sandwiches, and how much does that contribute to our intake? 49% of Americans eat a sandwich on every given day, and men eat significantly more than women. It's a main source of energy for many people. The authors of this study used the ingredient analysis that was much more detailed and gave better information about individual ingredients in sandwiches, proving that sandwiches give about 20% of dietary sodium intake, and that the more energy taken in, or calories, the more sodium. The use of surveys followed by a hypothetical solution in this article is consistent with the influence of their category of natural sciences. The article goes on to suggest that nutritionists guide people to make better low-sodium choices for their sandwich ingredients, and to be careful with ingredients that contain especially high amounts of sodium. How do our kids measure up? Another place we can ask for data is in the intake of the youth and adolescents and children in the United States of America. My third article in this cluster does just that. It's titled poor adherence to U.S. dietary guidelines for children and adolescents in the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey population. Little was known about the diet of children and adolescents in the U.S. before doing these surveys, and the central question of this article is, how do American children and adolescents' diets measure up, and is there a difference across childhood ages? The authors use the same survey guidelines to measure as in one of the previous articles. This time the participants were aged 4 to 18, with 3 different years of surveys used and compared with each other. The scores of the children, however, was even lower than that of average Americans. Scores range from 45 to 52, well below 80, which is considered to be good nutrition. Also, they found the youngest group had the best overall nutrition, the highest intake of fruits and whole grains, but also the highest intake of refined grains and sodium and empty calories. These are 4 to 8-year-olds. The authors go on to state that the young people of the United States could benefit from replacing missing food groups for specific ages of kids. Overall, the U.S. children have significantly poor dietary intake when compared to these guidelines. Dietary quality declined in the older groups, and this increases risk for chronic diseases later in life. Why is a kid's diet important? Well, unfortunately, this is our future, America. We need to better prepare our children for life, and part of that is by teaching healthy nutrition at a young age. Children are the future of the United States, and I think this is a focus area for us that we can improve on. So the social sciences ask why, and we certainly need to investigate this question. In my first article, the authors examine why we overeat. Its title is Hunger, Eating, and Ill Health. They examine why is undereating possibly better for us, and show that certain kinds of foods may give us a tendency to go for them because they're high positive incentive value foods, in nature full of vitamins, minerals, and energy, and read energy as meaning fat for sure. When we're hungry and we're anywhere near anything like that, we go for them. But we're not meant to have these types of foods all the time. The authors note several experiments that showed some benefit to not only following recommendations for eating, but eating less than the recommendations. This poses an interesting question. Their emphasis is on more of an emphasis on human behavior and discussion regarding motivations, aligning with the social science category of sociology. My second article is about college and eating. It's titled Weight and Nutrition-Related Behavior Changes Experienced by First-Time College Students Living Away from Home. They look at college away from home for the first time and use surveys to ask the question, do nutrition-related behaviors change in college? There was a significant weight gain of average of 10 pounds. 63% of these were in females, and many of them reported homesickness, which was an interesting aspect to the article. Their research was more into behavior change, highlighting that alcohol consumption changed as well as physical activity diminished, and less eating of fruits and vegetables. This is saddening because the college kids are also the future. Kids that start with poor eating habits will grow into college kids that have poor eating habits. So yes, this matters. Salutogenics. Rather than measure failure, imitate success. The article is titled Applying the Salutogenic Framework to Nutrition Research and Practice. The term salutogenesis was coined by a Norwegian scientist named Antonovsky and means to look at what helps health and wellness and not what causes illness. This is part of what the authors describe as behavioral food research, researching studies of interactions between humans, their social and cultural context, and physical health. It asks the question, how can studying the healthy benefit the unhealthy in the context of nutrition? Studying what's working rather than what's not working is certainly a unique and appealing thought. I really enjoyed this article as it gives a positive spin on nutrition. What future do we have? Well, let's hope for the best. I really believe that starting with kids at the youngest age possible is the best hope for our future. Reading about the various stages of development and the poor diet in the American public as a whole is disheartening. However, there have been minuscule trends and improvement shown in some of these studies. Let's hope that continued efforts will succeed. Comparing the natural and social sciences has been very helpful for my research. The natural sciences are more on the measuring side and analyzing side of things, and the social sciences investigate motivations and reasoning. So my final thought is for hope. Let's hope that our kids and our future can do better than we have. And let's start as young as we can to educate ourselves and our children about nutrition. Thank you very much.